Okay, this is TSI Practice 3. Question number 1. If 2x plus 3y equals 13 and 4x minus y equals 5, then what is 3x plus 2y? So, there's two ways we can work on this problem. One way is to solve for both x and y, and then plug it into the 3x plus 2y, or we can try to play with these equations and make them look like 3x plus 2y. So I'm going to use the first method of elimination and try to solve for x and y. So we line up both equations, x on top of x, y on top of y, so we can visualize the solutions. Now, we need to either have the same amount of x's or the same amount of y so we can eliminate. So, I can either multiply the bottom equation by 3 to figure out what x is equal to, or I can multiply the top equation by 2 to figure out what y is equal to. So I'm going to use the first approach, and I'm just going to multiply y by 3. So I have to multiply the whole equation. So the top equation stays the same. The bottom equation is 12x minus 3y equals 15. So all I did is multiply the bottom equation by 3 to make the y's equal value. Now, all I gotta do is add both equations together. So, 2 plus 12 is 14x. Eliminate the y. 13 plus 15 is 28. Use inverse operations and divide both sides by 14. So x is equal to 2. Once I found the value for x, I can use any of the equations and plug in that x value to find y. So I'm going to choose the second equation since I have a single y here. It's less work. So I'll have 4x minus y equals 5. I know that x is equal to 2, so I'm just going to plug 2. Okay, let's look at question number 2. If a movie reached the 90-minute mark 12 minutes ago, what minute mark had it reached m minutes ago? Now, with questions like that, remember Einstein, one of the great scientists, said, imagination is everything, so you're going to have to play with your imagination a little bit. So for my visual learners, I'm just going to draw a timeline. Okay? So, this is timeline, not a number line, right? Where I'm standing here, looking at the watch, your iWatch, Samsung watch, whatever, and this is the time now. Alright. The movie started at 0 time. So here we're entering the movies, buying the popcorn and the drinks, and everything looks good. Okay. The movie was playing for 90 minutes. "12 minutes ago. So, if I'm looking at n minutes, all I need to do is say, okay, how much is this time when I'm starting now? Is the 90 minutes plus the 12 minutes, which is 102. To go back to m time, all you gotta do is say, okay, so it's 102 minus m minutes ago, because you're going back in the past, so it's m minutes ago. So it's a minus. Since we're going back, it's a minus. So it's a C. If x is greater than 2500, then what's the value of x over 1 minus 2x closest to? So, by looking at the fraction, x over 1 minus 2x, if x is greater than 2,500, then it's a big number. So that will cause my bottom of the fraction to become a negative value. So we know we're going to have to result in a negative value. So either we have A or B. Now, if x is more than 2,500, that tells me it's a huge number. Also, it's multiplied by 2, which is even more huge. So the bottom will be a number that is very, very small because it's 1 minus double of a huge number. So we can ignore that 1 now and just know that's a negative huge. All right, so if you simplify the fraction ignoring that 1, x will be simplified because x over x is a 1. So you have something that is close to negative half. So, huge number, double the huge number. When you take that away from 1, 1 really doesn't matter. So let's say if I have 2,500 and 1, so that's negative 2,499. So it's negative 2,499, which is still, the 1 doesn't make much difference. So I can just pretend like this one is very minimal effect and just simplify x divided by negative 2x, which is a negative half. Okay, question number 4. If 520 divided by x equals 40n, then which of the following is equal to n times x, nx? All right, so when I see division and its equation to play with, we have to put in a fraction form to visualize easier ways to simplify. So we have 520 divided by x equals 40n. Now, we need to end up with n times x. So I can see that I have an n here, and here's x as a division. So when we use inverse operations, we'll multiply both sides by x. So we'll end up with 520 equals to 40 nx. Now, we don't want 40 nx, we just want nx. So I'm going to divide both sides by 40. So nx equals 13, which is A. Okay, number 5. If A minus 16 equals to 8B plus 6, what does A3 equal to? So, A minus 16 equals to 8B plus 6. And I need to reach the A plus 3. Well, you can solve for A and plug it in to find what's A plus 3. Or you can just play with this equation to make it A plus 3 on one side. So if I look here, I say, okay, it's A minus 16. And I need a plus 3. So if I add 19 to this side, what you do to the left, you have to do to the right. So now, A minus 16 plus 19, that's going to give me A plus 3 equals to 8B plus 25. So the answer is D. Okay, let me also do it in the first way that I was talking about, solving for A and then plugging in and adding 3. What you can say is, okay, so if A minus 16 equals to 8B plus 6, okay, this method is for my non-math people. So what I can do is I can leave A by itself by doing inverse operations. I'll add 16 to both sides. So A equals to 8B plus 22. Now, I need to have a plus 3. So a is missing a 3. So I can just say, okay, so a plus 3 will have to equal to 8b plus the 25. So you can do it in different ways. You can solve for a and then add the 3, or you can just do it at one step and just add 19 and do it. I prefer this method because it's less complicated and it's less work. Okay, question number 6 requires a little bit of focusing because I know a lot of you don't like this. Janice weighs X pounds. Elena weighs 23 pounds, more than Janice. June weighs 14 more pounds than Janice. In terms of X, what is the sum of their weights minus 25 pounds? So we need to arrange the thoughts and say, okay, you can make a small table, chart, whatever you want it. And I'm just going to say, Janice, I'm going to call her, I'll put the whole name so we won't confuse it with June. But Janice is X. Elena, on the other side, we can just call her E. She weighs 23 pounds more than Janice. So if Janice was X, Elena has to be 23 plus X. Now June, he is 14 pounds more than Janice, which is also 14 plus X. Now, it says here that we need the sum of the weights. So we need the sum of the weights minus 25 pounds. So basically, sum means add. So we're going to add everything. We say, okay, Janice is X plus 23X plus 23 plus X plus 14 plus X. So I'm just adding all the 3 weights minus 25. Okay, X, 2X, 3X. So we have 3X. Okay, then 23 plus 14 minus 25. So here you can, if you're not comfortable with quick math, you can just do 23 plus 14 and then minus 25. Or you can simply say, okay, 23 minus 25 is negative 2, and then 14 minus 2 is 12. So it's 3x plus 12. Question number 7 is multiplying radical expressions and simplifying, of course. So we've been doing this in class for a while, more than a week. So basically what you need to do, when you look at the top, you say, okay, that's a quadratic, 3 terms, so most likely I'm going to have to factor. So x squared minus 5x plus 6. Again, I'll do my 2 parentheses. So, okay, so x squared has to be x and x. Okay. Now, 6. What can be factored? So what are the factors of 6? You can have 1 times 6. You can have 2 times 3. Okay. For the signs, we know if this is a plus sign, that means they're twins. And the sign in the middle decides the type. So you're going to have minus and minus because they're twins. Now, we need to know what goes in these blank spots. So, we can do 6 and 1 or 2 and 3. So, because we need to have a negative 5 in the middle, the only ones that are going to work are the 2 and 3, because negative 2 plus minus 3 is 5. So, this will be the 2, and this will be the 3. And it doesn't matter. It could be the opposite. It could be 3 and 2. Now, the bottom here is simple enough for us. We like it. It's not going to make any difference, because we can't do anything else to it. Here on the top, we still have x plus 1 over x minus 2, and there's nothing we can simplify. They're just as simple as they can be. Now, since I have everything, parentheses, parentheses, let's look if we can eliminate. Oh, good. X minus 2 divided by x minus 2, just a 1. X plus 1 and x plus 1. So x plus 1 divided by x plus 1 is also 1. So my answer is just the x minus 3, which is B. Question number 8 is very simple. They're just asking us, I think this is a typo, this should be x. So when x is equals to negative 1, how much is that expression? So all you got to do is plug negative 1 for x. So negative 1 cubed plus 2 times negative 1 over negative 1 plus 3. So, again, the cube does not affect my sign because negative 1 times negative 1 is a positive 1. Times a negative 1, it's a negative 1. Now, this 2 times negative 1 is negative 2 over negative 1 plus 3 is just 2. So you're going to get negative 3 over 2, which is A. Question number 9. Question number 9 is just distributing two parentheses, two terms to parentheses. Some of you are comfortable with the FOIL. Some of you are comfortable with the window. Choose any method you like. So, I'm going to use the window here, just to remind you guys of it real quick. Okay. Or you can call it the box method, whatever you want to call it. So this is x plus 6, and this is x minus 6. Now we have to distribute. X times x is x squared. X times negative 6 is negative 6x. 6 times x is 6x. 6 times negative 6 is negative 36. You combine this, so it eliminates. So the answer is x squared minus 36. Now, my math people that enjoy math, you should know there is a rule to the difference of squares. That means the rule, if I have two numbers squared, like a squared minus b squared, I've said the rule so many times, this is equal to a plus b times a minus b. So when I see two identical parentheses with a plus and a minus, but everything else looks the same, then I know I need to apply this rule. So when I see two identical parentheses, x plus 6 and x minus 6, and it's only the difference in the sign, then I take the first term and square it, minus the second term square, which is x squared minus 36. Number 10. Again, you have two equations, two variables, and we need to find only x this time. So I'm going to use elimination again, since this is only algebra 2. When you guys go to pre-cal, most likely you'll learn matrices and more stuff that'll be more useful. But for now, let's solve using elimination. So the two equations are ready for us since I have x minus x. So I can just add the two equations. So x minus x eliminates. 2y minus 3y is negative y equals 7. So y equals to negative 7. So I found y. Now I can go back in and plug in negative 7 for y to find x. So I'll use this first equation, which is x plus 2y equals 3. I'll plug in negative 7 for y. So x minus 14 equals 3. So x equals, I'll add 14 to both sides, inverse operations. So x equals 17, which is D. Now, this is the shortest cut. This is the less work, to find y first, then do x. But if you want to find x at the same time, the first time, and not have to find y, you have to multiply this equation by 2, and multiply this equation by the negative 3, then add. So, I'm just going to show it, just in case. So, since here y has a 2 in front of it, and here y has a 3, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the first equation by 3. So I'm going to get 3x plus 6y equals 9. and then I'll multiply this equation by the 2. So I'm going to get negative 2x minus 6y equals 8. So now I'll be ready to add the 2 equations to eliminate y. So negative 6y plus 6y eliminates. Then negative 2x plus 3x is just x equals 8 plus 9, 17. So it's whatever method you like, you can use. Okay, the next 3 questions are about that figure above. We have 2 parallel lines, and we're asking which of the following statement is true about the figure above. It says, line 1 and 2 are parallel. So line 1 and 2 are parallel. Is that true? Yes. I'm going to put a check mark, but I have to check all my other choices. 1 and 3 are parallel. So 1 and 3, of course not. 1 and 2 intersect. Intersect means they meet at a point. So if line 1 and 2 are parallel, there's no way they're intersecting. So these are called intersections, where the 2 lines meet. Line 1 bisects line 3. Bisects means it divides it into 2 equal sections. 2 equal lines. So bisect means, that's the word bi. Like biceps, your biceps, because it's 2. Bi means 2. Anytime you see the word bi, it means 2. So bisect means it's divided into 2 equal lines. So let's look. Line 1 and line 3, of course, these are not equal at all. So it's not. So the answer is A. Question number 12. In the figure above, which of the following is a pair of alternate interior angles? When I see the word alternate, I remember my letter Z. Alternate interior, interior means inside. Alternate interior, they're the angles of the Z shape. Okay? Interior, alternate means Z shape. So, A and B, do they make a Z shape? No. A and C, do they make a Z shape? A and C, no. B and D, do they make a Z shape? B and D, no. A and D, let's look at the A, let's look at the D. It's a flipped Z, but it still is a Z shape. So the answer is D. Okay. Number 13. In the figure above, which of the following is an obtuse angle? Again, acute angle is a cute little guy. He's less than 90. Right angle, he's exactly 90. He's always right. Obtuse angle, it's a big guy who does not accept anything if it's not more than 90. Okay? So, let's look at, in the figure above, which of those is obtuse angle? Of course, line 1, line 3 cannot be answers because they're just lines. Angle A, does that look obtuse? It does look obtuse. Angle B, of course not. So, the answer is C. Alright, some of you had me in 5th grade, so they should know the story of Mrs. V and Mr. H. So, Mrs. V and Mr. H. I don't know if you remember it, but Mrs. V is a very active woman. She's always up on her feet, doing a lot of housework. Mr. H, on the other side, he's very lazy. He always likes to sleep. They always fight, but that's not our problem right now. We just need to know that Mrs. V is the one standing up, Mr. H is sleeping. So when we're talking about vertical line of symmetry, that means it's the standing line that divides the shape into 2 equal pieces. So let's look at the letter V. Does the stand line divide it into equal pieces? Yes, so yes, it does have. K on the other side, no, because the line will not divide it. B also no. L is also no. So the answer is V. So again, vertical lines is Mrs. V, who's always on her feet. Horizontal lines, Mr. H, who's always sleeping. All right. Number 15. Looking at the figure above, is B divided by A plus B plus C is equal to 3 over 5? What is B equal to? Now, we have 3 variables and only 1 equation, so I'm sure they're not asking us to find the value using elimination or substitution. We just have to play with the fraction, simplify it, and figure out what is B equal to. So, I'm going to do the cross multiply or the butterfly. I'm going to say, okay, 5B equals to 3 times A plus B plus C. Okay? Then, do I know how much A plus B plus C is? Well, not by looking at the algebra part, but at the geometry part, absolutely, because that's the straight line. And we know anytime we have a straight angle, it measures 180 degrees. If you don't know, then review your facts. So, I know that A plus B plus C is 180. Okay? Now, if I use inverse operation, I can divide both sides by 5. So, B equals to 3 times 180 divided by 5. Now, we can simplify this. So, you can simplify this instead of dealing with big numbers, because if I multiply 3 times 180, then divided by 5, this is huge. So, what you can do is, you can simplify the 180 by 5 first and say, okay, so divided by 5, that's a 1, divided by 5 is 36. Then you multiply 3 times 36, which will be 108, which is C. All right. So, if the radius of a circle O is 1/4 the diameter of circle P, what is the ratio of the circumference of circle O to circle P? So, we need to draw 2 circles and use drawing so you can do a better job at it. So, we have one circle and another bigger circle. Okay. So, it says here, circle O is the radius of circle O is 1/4 the diameter of circle P. So the smaller one is circle O, and the big one is circle P. Okay? So, we're talking about the radius of circle O is 1/4 of the diameter of circle P. Okay? So we need to know the circumference of circle O to the circumference of circle P. Okay? So, what is the rule for the circumference? Circumference of a circle is 2 pi r, or pi times diameter. Okay? So, we need the ratio of the O over the ratio of P. So, O goes on top over the ratio of P equals to, now, we said that R here is 1/4 of D. So, this R, I can replace it here with 1/4 of D. So, I'm going to have my 2 pi times 1/4 of D. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I need it to have the same variable. So, I can simplify it. And the circumference of the big circle is just the pi times D. Now, when we simplify, pi divided by pi is a 1. 2 times 1/4 of a D. 2 times 1/4. What's 1/4 of a 2? It's simply a half. So, half, and then D divided by D is a 1. So, the answer is just a half, B.